Yo, what's going on YouTube? I am Germ here. So today we need to talk about a really big story that's happened in the LCS over the past couple of days. This involves Doublelift in a recent video that he made. Obviously, Doublelift is no stranger to drama, controversy, being in the headlines, being in the spotlight, all that stuff. And he's done some pretty crazy stuff once again, but wanted to kind of give some context over where we've been the last couple of days. Things seemingly were heading in the right direction for the LCS Players Association, and talks between them and the LCS seem to be going well. Originally, we found out from LCS EV that he says his sources say the LCSPA walkout vote passed with 90% plus yes votes. There was at least 40 yeses of the 50 players. So this meant, I think, a really good sign for the Players Association and the LCS players overall in getting some of their demands met, or maybe not even getting some of their demands met because their demands were, kind of weird and maybe pretty astronomical, but at least being able to gain some ground with Riot. They're like, hey, if you think our asks are crazy, well, what can we work with? What can we get? That's how negotiating works. You talk really high, you talk kind of crazy, and then maybe you meet somewhere in the middle on some things. But things seem to be going well. If all the players were really banding together and staying strong, they were going to be able to get some things done. Yes, ultimately the players are risking their season and they're being able to go to Worlds and all that stuff, but Riot and the LCS teams are risking a lot as well. It's not like if the season doesn't happen that the Riot would love that or the LCS would love that or anything. So, hey, at least the players were standing strong. They were standing together. That's good. We also heard from a couple of different people. Leader Grev tweeted this out. He said, looks like the LCSPA and Riot conversations are moving forward. He talked with Philip Aram, the head of the Players Association, and this guy said, hey, Mikhail, I'm sorry, but I've got to postpone indefinitely, them talking about or interviewing or something like that, I'm sure. We are in productive conversation with Riot at this time and do not want to disrupt them with further media for the moment. So, hey, they're in productive conversations. The LCSPA and Riot are actually talking. It seems like they're gaining ground. The LCSPA doesn't want to slow down or deter from these conversations by, talking to the media, so that seemed good. And from the Riot side, things kind of seem the same. The Dive, Azael, Mark Z, they were going to potentially record an episode of The Dive with Nas, who is the global head of esports for Riot. Really awesome person. I've actually met her before. Really cool and very powerful in the scene. They were going to talk with her about, what's going on, about the LCS, about the walkout and all the things going on. And then eventually they also, tweeted out that here it is. Hey, unfortunately, the Dive episode we recorded won't be released. Riot is having continued discussion with the LCSPA, and over concerns of that affecting those conversations, had decided it won't be getting released. So again, another instance of, hey, these talks are happening. These talks are making progress. They don't want to risk it. They don't want to have something happen at this stage. So it seemed like we were getting closer and closer to a resolution, and maybe even a positive and good resolution for the LCS players overall. But that was until Doublelift decided to go and drop a bomb on us. Doublelift dropped this YouTube video. I don't know exactly what it's titled. I don't know if we can pull it up or not, but he dropped this video called What I Agree and Disagree with LCS Walkout Discussion. And it's popped off. It's got 154K views in one day. That's pretty big, especially for the LOL esports scene. And yeah, this has not been very well received by a lot of people. And it's been seen as, pretty insane and pretty crazy. In this video, he obviously gives his thoughts about what he disagrees with and agrees with about the LCS walkout. But this is very interesting because if you see other people in the scene, Philip Aram, he doesn't want to talk about things publicly. He doesn't want to talk about, stuff with the media because conversations are going on right now. When conversations are going on and negotiations are going on, you don't want to show your whole hand. You don't want to talk too much. You don't want to say too much. You don't want to give the other side an upper hand on your negotiations by knowing exactly how you feel and, potentially just saying something stupid, which is largely what Doublelift most likely did. Now, you could say what Doublelift's motivations are. I think there's a couple different angles here. One, Doublelift is just, kind of ignorant or arrogant or whatever the word is and doesn't really know what he's doing and is making a very foolish mistake on accident and doesn't really know what he's doing. Two, he's trying to take advantage of the situation for his own personal gain by, making a YouTube video on a very relevant topic right now and knowing that he's going to cause some uprise and stuff and get a ton of views on it and grow his personal brand, at the expense of a lot of the other LCS players and maybe the LCS as a whole. He could be doing that. I don't know. Or he could just genuinely, wanting to be sharing his thoughts and opinions and think that it's fine and not think it's a big deal, which again, I think is not very thoughtful, pretty idiotic, pretty stupid, whatever. But in this video, he gives all his thoughts and opinions. Here's some of the stuff he said. We have a TLDR from Reddit here, which I'll just go over. Maybe it's not perfect or whatever, but He believes that academy players are paid way too much, even those getting a minimum salary, which is obviously crazy. And maybe they are paid too much, who knows, whatever. But that's still a crazy thing to say, especially from an LCS player. This isn't like Reggie or freaking Jack or something saying this. Is an LCS player saying, hey, I think academy players are paid too much. Whatever. And that the $300K asked from the LCS Players Association is too high. Again, this is an LCS player saying that the LCS Players Association is making too high of demands. That's insane. That's crazy. You would not see like an NFL player saying that, hey, I think the NFL Players Association is asking for too much. That's insane. That's literally like a direct, I don't know if conflict of interest is a word or whatever, but like it goes against the interest of the players and the Players Association for a player, especially a high profile player, especially a player like Doublelift, to go against what they're fighting for, to go against what they're negotiating for. That's insane. That's unprecedented. It doesn't even make sense. If I'm the Players Association, if I'm any players that are fighting for all this stuff right now, I'm so pissed off at Doublelift and so mad and so angry that I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. What are you saying? Why are you making a YouTube video right now? Obviously, you can have your own thoughts and opinions, but keep that shit to yourself, you fucking idiot. Like, what the heck are you doing? And I don't even think that's like a controversial opinion. I think that's like the baseline opinion. I think that's like the freezing cold take right there, because I think that's what everyone should and is going to be saying about this. He thinks that the current tier 2 system was heavily flawed, with mandatory academy teams should be optional. Being mandatory is why there are so many veterans in it and high buyouts, but thinks that there should still be a tier 2. Heavily disagrees with the requirement forcing NACL and LCS winners to be guaranteed jobs, and is indifferent toward the 3/5 priority rule. Disagrees with allowing the top 2 tier 2 teams being in LCS, and instead suggested that LCS should be reduced to 8 teams from 10 so that good talent isn't split across so many teams. He does say that he did vote yes, because obviously all this is making it sound like he voted no on the walkout, but he did actually vote yes on the walkout because he believes the tier 2 scene needs to exist and be supported by Riot, despite only agreeing with 1/5 of the LCS Players Association demands, which again, this is coming from a active player saying he only agrees with 1/5 of what the LCS Players Association is doing publicly to hundreds of thousands of people, and obviously to the availability of all the LCS orgs and Riot and everybody, and all the LCS players as well, because he's obviously going to be influencing and affecting some of them as well, this is just insane to say. So bad for the LCS Players Association, losing them so much ground, losing them so much standing with players and at the negotiation table while negotiations are going on. That has to be so frustrating. And finally, this is the biggest bomb of the entire thing, and this is what really is the big story, the big news, and what might turn the tide for these talks and for the start of the LCS season and the remainder of the year and all this stuff. He says that he will ultimately play LCS Summer and Worlds over walking out if these discussions prolong any further. So he's saying he is not down for the cancellation of the summer split, in 2 weeks, whatever. He's saying he's not down for the cancellation of Worlds. And that is crazy because that plays right into Riot's hand. When Riot made those threats of saying, hey, you guys have 2 weeks to figure this out or we're canceling the season and you're not going to Worlds, that was a scare tactic. That was, kind of bullying in a way. That was telling these players, hey, do what you guys got to do. We're going to suspend this shit 2 weeks. You get 2 weeks to fucking figure this out or you're done. Doublelift is obviously caving into those threats, saying, yes, I voted on the walkout, but I'm not down to walk out for more than 2 weeks. Hey, guys, I'm coming back. Well, guess what? Then that means Riot is just going to sit at those negotiation tables with their freaking fingers crossed, and they're going to wait there for 2 weeks, and they're not going to budge, and they're not going to give in, and they're going to say, hey, guess what? In 2 weeks, we know Doublelift's coming back, and we know in 2 weeks, Doublelift has an influence over a lot of these young players. A lot of them have looked up to their idols. A lot of them, are going to do what this guy says or do what this guy wants, and he's maybe going to talk them into it. And obviously, Doublelift has a lot of sway with the fans and stuff. If we know that Doublelift and all these players and all the fans are just going to come back into the palm of our hand in 2 weeks, why would we negotiate? Why would we give in? Why would we do any of what you guys are saying? So yeah, I don't know. Maybe all the players in the Players Association, all these guys are going to stay strong, but Doublelift just made things a heck of a lot harder. It was very idiotic. It was very insane. I know I saw some tweets. I don't even know who it was from. It was from like Rich or somebody stupid like that, or maybe Thorin. I don't even know. He said, like with friends like Doublelift, the Players Association doesn't need enemies, which is just absolutely true. Cannot believe Doublelift did this. He's a guy who's obviously done some stupid stuff in the past and had some controversial stuff and whatever, but I think for the most part I've largely liked what Doublelift's done more or less in a lot of different ways, but this is just idiotic. This is just indefensible. And obviously this greatly increases the chances of the LCS starting back up in 2 weeks. It greatly increases the chances of having an LCS split at all and having the LCS at Worlds, but man, this is going to cause some divides between Doublelift and a lot of players. And obviously I get why Doublelift wants to come back and play. You know, he's getting up there in his career, he's aging, he doesn't want to be taking splits or missing out on Worlds and all that stuff. He wants to do this stuff. He came back to actually play the game, but man, you just fucked over a lot of people, and you maybe fucked over the future of the Tier 2 ecosystem in the LCS, while also throwing some people under the bus, you know, saying that these guys are making way too much money. They could say, hey, man, fuck you. You've been making way too much money over the past couple of years, and you didn't hear us saying shit about you, and now that you have power and influence, you're going to be saying that we're making too much money when we're scraping by, when we're getting no opportunities. That is absolutely insane. You know, that's a pot calling the kettle black, but obviously Double is having way more power and influence in the community. This is insane. You know, don't be shocked and surprised at all if people are very mad and upset at Doublelift and that this causes some issues for, you know, years to come. Who knows? But I can't believe he said this stuff. I can't believe he dropped this video. I don't know why he did it. I know the short-term gains for him are probably way going to outweigh a lot of the long-term damage it's going to do. But yeah, another day, another banger in the LCS, guys. I don't know. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.